Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show of Classroom Without Walls. Here's my special t-shirt for a special day. On this show, I interview leading social media, digital marketers, entrepreneurs, small business owners. They come here and share with us their best practices, strategies, and tactics so that you and we can future-proof our business. Today, it is such a special day for me because I'm having my role model on the show. And I have been following Lee for, I don't even know, for so many years when I was a student learning social media, digital marketing. And so really honored to have Lee on the show today and to talk about influencer marketing and how we can build trust with influencers and the buyers, and what are some of the major trends in influencer marketing that you and we need to pay attention to. And make sure you stay until the end because Lee has a special announcement where you can earn $500 Amazon gift card. And just in case you don't know who Lee Odden is, Lee is the founder and co-founder and CEO of TopRank Marketing, which is a marketing industry influencer. And Lee is also a globally renowned keynote speaker. And Lee is also the author of the book, Optimize, How to Attract and Engage More Customers. Yeah, show us the book by integrating SEO, social media, and content marketing. So really excited. Last year, I think was the first time that I connected with Lee, kind of in person, had some chat at Adobe Insider event, and then later the same year at ICM Rush Global Marketing Day. I think.
Yes. Wow, great memory.
In person. Yeah, I try to. Yeah. So really honored, and thank you so much for joining us live. And we are live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Periscope, and on YouTube. My dear friend Peter is not live with us. So Peter is my friend who always helps me monitor people's comments. He's enjoying his football game today. So
awesome.
So anyway, yeah, let me know in the comment section where you guys are joining us live from, which country, and let me know if you have any questions related to influencer marketing in the comment section. And Lee, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Wow, that was quite an introduction. You've got so much energy. I can feel it all the way over here. And chilly
I'm really
Minnesota.
excited. Yeah. Do you want to add anything to my very brief introduction?
No, you did a great job. I'm fortunate to work. I'll say a few things. I'm very fortunate for the almost 20 years now, working with a really talented group of people here at our Minneapolis office, agency called TopRank Marketing, mostly B2B, working with companies like Dell and SAP and 3M and LinkedIn, even on influencer programs, influencer content programs. So I've been in the thick of influencer marketing for about 7 years now, both as a company providing services, but also being asked from companies like Adobe, like I have, and by other companies as an influencer. So getting to visit these events and to do different activations and understand both sides of the coin and what it's like to create a great influencer experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I know you have been in this space for such a long time, and I can't wait to learn a lot from you. I just saw that my friend Lance is joining us live from Australia.
Wow, awesome.
It is like 8 a.m. for them. So thank you for being with us. So let's get started. And influencer marketing has been in this space for quite some time. So I wonder if you can share with us, how do you define influencer marketing? And what does the term, influence mean to you?
So, as I mentioned, we're specialists in the B2B side of influencer marketing. And so for that reason, for us, influencer marketing is about the practice of activating, people that are external to the brand, but also internal to the brand, that have active communities, that have engaged communities. So they are publishing and they have communities of people listening to them. And what we're doing with those folks is we're collaborating or co-creating content with them in a way that creates mutual value both for the influencer and the brand in a way that is measurable. It has to have a measurable outcome possible. And so influence, it's interesting you asked about that because I mean, influencer marketing, again, it's about activating people, internal, external, creating content that's measurable, that creates mutual value. But influence itself is something that's changed a little bit. Everyone, I think, is influential at some level, right? And so gone are the days of having to just go after the true celebrities and invite them to do something and hoping for massive engagement. Influence has been democratized, or is increasingly being democratized because we're all empowered to publish through devices. We're all empowered to connect with like-minded individuals, create our own communities. And when people are paying attention to what we have to say and we're publishing fairly regularly, we are creating influence. And so influence really is something that one can view holistically in 2020. And that we can go for a little bit from a lot of different people, right? The niche, the macro influencer, the micro influencer approach is something that is increasingly more relevant as a way to create advocacy, to co-create content in a way that's really close to the voice of the customer. And not some prepackaged thing that the brand made and just copied and pasted and gave to a celebrity and said, here, publish this. So influence is changing, it's evolving, it's more democratized, I think.
Oh, I love this. And all those I think are really some big changes. What you just mentioned reminds me of an article I read last year. There was this influencer on Instagram. She has like 2.3 million followers, and she was trying to sell her t-shirt. She struggled. Yeah. I think she eventually sold 36 or something t-shirt. Very small amount of number, and based on how large her following is. So it's really interesting to hear that. So think about influencer marketing in 2020. What do you think are some major trends or differences that you kind of mentioned a little bit? I wonder if you can summarize some big trends or differences that as marketers we have to pay attention to.
So again, I do have familiarity with B2B and B2C, but most of my time is spent in B2B. And I think, we did a study with Tracker and Brian Solis at Altimeter Group a couple of years ago. And at that time, I think only 11% of B2B brands were actively engaged in influencer marketing, whereas now it's probably something like 50%. And we'll get a better number on that after we get the results of the State of the B2B Influencer Marketing Survey that folks can take at the end of this and our interview or our time together. I think one of the big changes in the last couple of years is the advent of GDPR, CCPA, and pending updates to FTC guidelines around influencers and working with influencers. So that means brands really need to take compliance seriously and disclosure and that sort of thing. It's not something to mess around with or leave to chance. So there's got to be some level of governance, especially when you're paying influencers. It's become more normal to treat influencer engagement like an ad buy. In B2C. There are platforms that are dedicated just to this. So people sign up under the guise of make money online, and they then become inventory for brands who can though shop like they're at a grocery store, for influencers who have expertise in media creation skills, like I can make great videos, I'm on Snapchat, I'm on TikTok or whatever. And there's history on how well the things they have created for brands has performed. And so that's something that is a lot more commonplace now. And there's a lot more technology to support brands that want to approach influencer marketing that way. I think there are clever brands like Adidas that have started to use dark social as a way to connect with influencers. They're using SMS and text messaging. They're creating things called Tango Squads, clusters of youth that are advocates around soccer around the world, where they share things with them. And it's not public. It's all through text messaging or WhatsApp or something like that. And that's becoming more prevalent. More brands are starting to understand, their audience isn't necessarily engaging in the same way publicly as they might through private messaging. So that's a big change. I think that there are a lot more opportunists. Some have talent, some don't, that are entering the professional influencer marketing space. And it's easy to fool people. You can buy followers and that sort of thing. There are systems being added to some of the influencer technology platforms to identify fake followers. So that's a good thing. And speaking of technology, there's a lot more influencer tech available today. A couple of years ago, there was just a handful of companies, and now there's a lot more. And there's certainly a lot more tech available in the B2C space. But increasingly, there are B2B specific platforms.
I love this. And can you give us an example of some of your favorite influencer technology?
Yeah, Tracker is one that we use. We've used for a long time, TRAACKR. They are probably a bit more focused on B2C, probably, I'm going to make this up, 60-40. 60% B2C, 40% B2B. We use them exclusively for B2B. And we use Tracker to identify, qualify, engage, to communicate with influencers, and most importantly, to measure performance. They have a very good user interface. It's do-it-yourself, and they also provide a limited amount of services, but it's one that we use quite a bit. So
is this the one?
That's the one. There's another B2B specific platform called Analytica. That is, again, more specific to B2B, and they also offer some services. And these are enterprise level platforms, of course. And really, you can just Google influencer marketing software and you can find all kinds of services. But
did you, sorry to interrupt you, did you mention Tracker can be applied to like the B2C space, like kind of small businesses, entrepreneurs, or B2B you mentioned?
Both.
Oh, okay, both. Okay.
Tracker is an enterprise platform. There are some small or medium-sized businesses that, the impact they can have through this kind of software is so significant. It's a worthwhile investment. We're a small business and we buy them. I've only got 25, 26 employees and we're using them, and I'm going to keep on using them because again, the user experience and their continued effort at updating the platform with features is, it makes it a great tool to use.
Wow, it's awesome. This is awesome. So we have quite a few more people joining us live right now. We're talking about influencer marketing, and I'm looking at the questions, so keep the questions coming. So Erica joined us live from Jamaica, and you are just talking about dark social media. So she asked you to explain a little bit more about dark social, just for those people who are not familiar with the concept.
Sure. So social media, we think of things like Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and that sort of thing. Dark socials, really, it's a reference to social that can't be tracked publicly. And so pretty much it means text messaging. It may mean some other things, but I'm going to simplify and say it's mostly private messaging services. Where the brand is communicating with individuals on a one-to-one basis. And that is an appropriate channel, appropriate means for brands to communicate with influencers in some industries, in some situations. I'd encourage you to look up, search for the expression case study and tango squads, and you'll find a really good story about how Adidas is using that.
Wow, that's awesome! I can't wait to check it out and like share the link in the comment section. So here's another great question from Vicky, joining us live from Ohio. So she asked kind of the other side. So how can we become an influencer? I think that is something we all want to learn more about.
Sure.
Maybe now, Lee, you are pretty influential. But for people
No.
like us, what are some ways that we can actually build our brand trust and authority so we can become a little bit more influential so other people can come to us to do partnerships, things like that?
Absolutely. So I can tell you what we look for is, somebody who stands for something very specific. Specificity rises to the top. Now, granted, as you become more well-known and we start getting into the hundreds of thousands or millions of followers in your network, you can stand for lots of different things. But until then, a good starting point is to pick a particular point of view, cause, theme that you want to be the best answer for. If someone wants to know about this one thing, they know they can get all of it from you. Now, you're going to need to create evidence that you're the best answer for that idea. And so that means publishing. It means creating content. It means engaging with other people who are already influential about that thing. I can tell you years ago, and I'm still not as influential as I'd like to be, but when I decided a while ago that this is something a question I wanted to answer for myself, one of the first things I did was to decide, and at the time I was in the SEO world. And so I made a point to connect with people in the SEO world, and I started a blog and I started interviewing them. I started doing things that would give them attention, to give them exposure. I thought that, well, if I can create value for these people in a way that they're not getting right now, that will warm up a relationship. And that's exactly what it did. And so fast forward to today in your situation, we have so many more options in which you can engage with people that already have influence. If you can find ways to create value for them, even if it's just giving them kudos, relevant kudos, giving them feedback on something that they wrote, giving them a reaction, inviting them to contribute. One thing I love to do is ask a group of people just one question, and then I'll and create a roundup post. But unfortunately, that tactic has been overused by people in the SEO community. I mean, they haven't executed it very thoughtfully. I continue to do these roundup posts, but we are very thoughtful about how they're done. And we will make lists of top influencers. Here's the thing that we do a lot that you could do. If you want to be influential about, very interesting looking clocks. All right. Interesting clocks. So go, who's influential about interest? Make a list of the top 10 other people who are already influential about clocks and publish that. Right. And create very clever and interesting things about why they're influential, and then reach out to them and say, hey, I just want to let you know, we just published a post listing the top 10 people and you're one of them. I just want to thank you for all that you do. And you don't ask them for anything. You're just letting them know that that's out there. And you do other things to connect with people. So it's going to take effort, but if you can create value for people in a relevant way, you're going to start to become more influential yourself. When you work with other people that are influential, that influence will rub off on you. But here's the thing. When you can help other people become influential, meaning that as you rise in your career as an influencer, if you help other people who are coming up in the world become influential, give them exposure, that is even more powerful at creating influence for yourself.
Wow. I'm like taking notes like crazy. I love it. Really. And the tactic you give us, create a list of the top influencers in our specific field. I love that, like engaging in a very meaningful way. I think everyone joining us live right now, we should take this challenge. And when we go home, we should, whatever industry you are in, create such a list. Wow, and try to change other people's lives. I love this. This is great. And so earlier, Lori asked us a question. Thank you for joining us live. And she said that most people trade product for exposure. Is that treated differently than paying them for money?
Well, the FTC doesn't see it any differently. If you receive value for your effort as an influencer, it's the same. Now, there may be differences in execution, operations of that, obviously, from a brand finding people that will finding situations that are appropriate, understanding, okay, does it make more sense for us to pay these people to do what we want them to do? Or does it make more sense for us to give them a product? There's obvious things like, hey, we're selling widgets, we're selling mice. So let's send mice out to a bunch of techies who do reviews of mice. Then that makes more sense. If we're talking more about, technology trends, then we may want to pay someone to write one article per month on the top technology trends that month, and we'll pay them every month to do that over the next 6 months or 12 months. It'd be better, obviously, to pay the money because it's a work product. And in many cases, when you're paying influencers, you're paying them for a work product. You're paying them to create media. You're paying them for something that has a deliverable, not unlike how you would pay a consultant for something.
Yeah, I love that. I kind of have this question myself, Lee. I don't know. Feel free to tell me this is not a good question. So I feel like in our space, for speaking engagement, and people don't know how much to charge, how much other people are being paid. So for the influencer marketing space, is there a standard fee? So if you want to work with people kind of this rank, and this is how much you pay, and in this industry, this is how much you pay. Because I asked this question, I'm in the middle of trying to work with a few influencers in the alternative education space. And I literally don't know how much to give them. And how do you kind of figure it out? Is there a guide?
No. Well, I mean, there are surveys. There are influencer marketing software companies that do surveys that ask how much influencers, how much do you average charge, or brands, how much are you paying on average? And they come out with numbers. And they may even segment them by industry or by platform. You see a lot of average Instagram influencers get paid this much per post if they have this many followers and goofy stuff like that. Ultimately, either the brand will dictate the rate because they only have X budget. And so how do you figure out an ad buy? And they'll use that as a reference point. It may not be a very good way to do it, but people understand things in terms of what they already know. So they understand new things in terms of what they already know. They create a point of reference. Ad buys is one. But most of the time, brands will have a fixed budget and they'll go, look, this is how much money we have. Are you in or not? Of course, you'd never do it like that. And then there are other scenarios where you have pro influencers who, I like to call them brand visual media. And this is a trend that I'll talk more about maybe, but where they've created networks of publishing entities. So a group of podcasts, a group of video channels, or just a group of influencers that you can tap into, and they'll have a rate card for like if you're the same as if you were buying ads on a network of websites. They'll have a rate card for the creation of the content and the publishing and promotion of it on their little network. So price in that case is dictated by the influencers, who will either have a standard rate or they will give a brand a proposal. So let's say I know a B2B influencer who does research. And so part of the value he brings is that not only will he do a research project, but he'll also package it and promote it. And so he literally creates a proposal as we would as an agency, and give that to the brand. So the price per post, the price per message, and all that sort of thing is something that you're going to have to figure out according to your budget. And you can work backwards and think about what ROI do we need in order to make this work? How much money do we have available? How much money do we want to make? Or what is the impact we're after? What is the value of that impact? And then work backwards to figure out, okay, what slice of our budget can we actually allocate to influencers, and start there and get your feet wet with some negotiations.
Wow, that's interesting. Really great tips, and also kind of in my own case, I just have to. I remember the first time when someone invited me to do a paid speaking thing. I gave like $200, and then based on other person's response, I was like, oh, I totally undercharge or I overcharge, and you can kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I saw Vicky's comment. I wish there was an industry standard, a guide, or best practice, or something that people can follow. Or you think that's not a good?
Unfortunately, there isn't a consistent predictor of success like there might be within a closed network advertising situation. You know what I mean? But yeah, it would be nice. It reminds me, compensation can come in different forms. I remember a software company offered me $300 to tweet something once, and I ended up not doing it. I should have done that. I mean, it would have been easy $300. A burger chain that had a couple of stores here in Minnesota offered me a lifetime of their burger, or no, a year of their burgers. I would take a photo with the burger in front of one of their stores, and it was like 40 miles away, and I didn't want to drive. Plus, I didn't want to gain the weight that I would inevitably gain if I had a year's worth of free burgers. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. Some of those stories, very interesting. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Lee. Yeah. So I just saw this comment from Lori. She said that she couldn't see comments on LinkedIn. Try to use your phone. That's why I'm using my phone to see if LinkedIn Live sometimes, doesn't work that well. See if you can read people's comments on the phone. So I just saw this comment from Lance. He mentioned that last year he was approached by a PR agency, and they actually discovered him through Tracker. So it was interesting you just mentioned that. Yeah. And so great. I want to move on a little bit, and let me do a quick screen share. So at your agency, Lee, and you guys focus on influencer marketing a lot. I have so many windows. Is this one? Oh, here. So you have your own framework, and I love this. By the way, everyone, you should check out their website and read the blog. And as I was getting ready to prepare for this interview, I read so many of your blog articles. I was like, bookmark. Really great content. And so you have your own framework in terms of how you guys are helping your clients with influencer marketing. And we definitely don't have time to discuss all of them, but I want to talk about a few of them. So the first one is influencer relations. And how do you identify the right influencer? And you mentioned earlier, just look at the numbers. Celebrities may not be the best approach. So I wonder if you could share with us. So how do you guys identify influencers, and based on what is the benchmark that you guys are using to make sure that we are actually identifying the right influencers?
Right. So the first thing is some homework, and that's about identifying the topic of influence. Popularity alone is just ridiculous. It really means nothing, right? Other than just large numbers. So what is it that you want to be influential about, that your customers also care about? What is that expression? We use data like SEO data. We use CRM data. We use social data to get an understanding of what it is that people are thinking about relevant to the brand and customer connection. And that intersection of topic is then what we use to go find the right influencers. So there's more specific segmentation that occurs in terms of, okay, if we want to be influential about corporate performance management software, what's that, right? Then we know that, okay, this is something that's in the financial planning and accounting industry. And we need to find the subtopics that are relevant for the campaign that we're going to run. Once you have those topics, then you will then you could either go directly into a tool like Tracker or Analytica, or if you're really only care about Twitter influencers, you go to BuzzSumo or something like that. And you search for people who are using those words in their profile, people who are using those words in their content. If you're using a tool like Tracker or enterprise level tool, there's 3 core data points that we're looking for. And social data is most readily available to understand who the right influencer is. And so, and this is the most basic stuff, right? So first, we're going to look at topical relevance, the degree to which the topic we want to be influential about, who is also personally influential, but the things that they self-identify as this thing, and they publish content that is relevant to this thing. The next one is resonance, the degree to which that topic resonates with their audience. So we don't want any surprises. If I don't ever talk about cell phones or smartphones
or
hamburgers, why in the world all of a sudden I'm talking about hamburgers, right? And it's just a disconnect. So if I'm passionate about a particular topic and my community is used to me talking about it and they react to me talking about that topic, that's resonance. So we want to have that score really high too. So those are three fundamental things. There are other matching that we'll do, like media format. So are they a YouTuber? Well, let's not do a text interview with them. Let's do a video interview with them. Are they good at, a certain social channel? Well, let's make sure that's the same social channel that's relevant to our audience. So we have some customer influencer matching in terms of content format and distribution and publishing channels. That helps pick the right influencer. Once we've used that data to identify a raw list of people that are candidates, we literally have to manually inspect their social accounts to make sure that they are who they say they are. They're publishing at a cadence that is, like it hasn't been 2 years since they tweeted, for example, and if Twitter was an important channel. I have this happen all the time where I find, oh my gosh, all the metrics score high. I can't wait to work with this person. Oh, they don't publish. They haven't published in a long time. They were insanely popular a long time ago, but it's become a false positive because they don't publish regularly now. And also there's a values alignment issue, meaning that if they are particularly political or very, very opinionated about things that might be controversial for the brand, we need to know that. And we figure that out through a combination of technology and manual inspection. And we shorten our raw list into a shorter list, and then we send out invite emails.
I love this process. Thank you for sharing. It shows that we can rely on the machines, on the tools, but at the same time, we also have to rely on human eyes. And also what you just shared with us, taught me the importance of keep producing content. I call myself a lifelong student. Just because you achieved a certain status, maybe 5 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, and how do you maintain that status? So not just rely on the numbers, certain measurement, but actually to, keep the momentum going. I love it. Yeah. And Kimberly said that she loves everything you share. So thank you for joining us live. Yeah. It's great. So I noticed this thing in the influencer marketing space, Lee. And it seems like many influencer programs are kind of a one-time thing. Like, I work with this person once and then kind of, saying goodbye to each other. What do you think about that? Do you think we should try to nurture more ongoing influencer programs? So what's your perspective on that?
Sure. It really has to do with the strategy and where the company is in their maturity working with influencers and influencer marketing. So there's an argument to be made to do a pilot. Absolutely. Do a pilot and get your feet wet in terms of understanding what it's like to work with influencers, have them collaborate, how you publish, and how all that will work, especially special guest.
Want to learn more about influencer marketing?
Absolutely. That your cat might be an influencer now.
Actually, speaking of cat, I follow this guy who is riding a bicycle to travel all over the globe, and he has a cat. He has millions of followers. He's actually an influencer, and on Instagram, just him and the cat. So sorry.
Funny. That's awesome. A catfluencer, right?
Catfluencer.
A catfluencer. So, what was I talking about? Always on influencer marketing. This is what we need to get in our minds. Always on influencer marketing. So it doesn't take as much effort as you might think, but it all starts with a strategy. Like it's kind of like think of a relationship. If you only have one interaction and then you don't ever see that person until the next time you need them, That's feeling very transactional and not very special. And if I can stress one thing about the influencer experience you create, they should feel special when your brand works with them. A lot of brands are transactional, and the result is these one-off campaign situations. And it's because they failed to see the value of relationship building. So relationships require care and feeding, just like the cat, right? And it's important that, you do some fundamental things to make it effective, but also make it easy for you. So what we like to do at TopRank Marketing is leverage repurposing. So as an example, I'm mesmerized by your cat now. What we repurpose on purpose. We plan to repurpose influencer content before we ever capture it. So we structure influencer engagement and the topic distribution amongst a group of influencers in a way that we make it into micro content. So we'll ask a group of people, let's say one thing, or we'll ask them 10 questions each as an example. And then we will place all those contributions into, and we don't have software for this, so we put it in a spreadsheet, and then we tag each of those contributions with keywords. So we may collaborate with influencers and create an interactive microsite, which is a specialty area for us. We use a lot of interactive content, or an ebook or a video series or a podcast series or something like that. And then what we'll do is we'll take that micro content and we'll start dripping it out there. And for months after the original thing has launched. And we use it, think of it, here's a good metaphor. Think of that micro content as ingredients in a recipe or seasoning. So we season blog posts with quotes we got 4 months ago. We season a newsletter or a presentation or a contributed article to an industry publication with quotes or tips we got 4 months ago. And it'll show up on the influencer's radar because they've all got monitoring going on for their own names. They know what brands are talking about them. And this is a way to programmatically show the love in between those campaigns. Now, that's not all you can do. Of course, you would hopefully allocate resources in your organization to reach out to your influencers and share with them, here's what's up with our brand, just keeping you informed, right? In the case of Adobe, we know that there's that Twitter back channel, that DM channel that's lit up every single day for an event that happened almost 12 months ago.
Totally.
So create a communication channel, and it can be via email, it could be through Slack channel, could be a Facebook group, could be a Twitter DM, whatever it is that works for your group of influencers. Find a way in which you can communicate with them periodically and just let them know what's going on.
Totally.
If they're consultants, give them gigs. If they are a potential book author, turn them on to an acquisition editor. If they are consultants, refer them to work. If they are a subject matter expert and a journalist you're talking to about something for your brand would benefit by talking to some of your influencers as well, then turn them on to those leads as well. And make this part of a solid relationship.
Well, I love it. In fact, that's kind of what I got from reading so many of your blog articles. I see, respect, trust, communication, and make it relationship based as opposed to be transactional. So I love that, I'm sure just like us, we all wanted to be treated as human beings. I'm sure influencers, especially how big their following is, given that they must have received tons of requests on a daily basis. So they probably want to be treated as a decent human being. Yeah, I love that. So I wonder if you can share with us some stories or examples of bad, you discuss so many good examples, building trust, make it relationship focused, make it easier for them to share content. So what are some bad practices that we should definitely avoid that's going to damage our potential relationship with the influencer?
Yeah, actually, I wrote an article about this a while back, 50 ways to fail at influencer engagement. And I can share I don't know how I can share the URL. I can tweet it out or whatever.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. It's anyway. So some of the biggest offenders are baiting and switching. So that comes in the form of, telling the influencer initially that they're important and that we really value you and we really want, it's very special that you're part of this program. And then when it comes to the actual activation, they're a commodity. They're treated not special. And, that could be by accident. Oftentimes it is by accident, or it's just because of ignorance on the part of the brand. And they just don't realize that, there's things that you need to do in order to follow through on your promise. Another bait, there you go. You're a good searcher.
Try. I'm also going to share the link in the comment section, and also we share a few other links. So everyone definitely check this out. And here are a number of things. I'm sure like many of them still very relevant. Yeah.
Another one is offering an engagement with a certain amount of effort and then doubling or tripling what that effort is actually expected, or really treating the entire thing as a transaction. Here, hey, we'd love to get your insight in this thing. You're a super important person in this industry. What we're working on would really be made special if you contributed to it. And then you go, okay. And then they give you a form. Just fill out this form. And you fill out the form, and then you never hear from them again. That kind of thing is really, really not going to build trust. It's not going to build engagement. It's certainly not going to build a relationship.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is such a great list. And wow. I just saw this, and I wonder if you can explain this a little bit, Lee. And I think this one was, which the one I just saw? It was really like all of them are very interesting. And so did you develop this based on personal experience or based on your experience working with clients?
Combination of personal experience and working with clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is what I want to ask. So making it incredibly difficult. And can you explain this from an influencer perspective? What should we do when we approach an influencer? So how can we make this easier for a potential influencer to partner up with us, to collaborate with us? So from their perspective, what do you think we should consider?
So obviously, it's very important that you communicate expectations up front in terms of here's what, when, why, and how. And here's the knowledge you're going to need, or here's what we're expecting from you. Here's an example of what we're looking for. Here's a timeline, and here's the format. So educating them about what it is that you actually want it sounds common sense, but it's not. The people just say, tell us about this. And they don't send it. When do they need it by? What format they want it in? If there's any special approach, whatever. And then once they make the content, or they assemble the content from the influencers, making it hard to share. What I mean by that is, if you don't make it easy, you're making it hard.
That's right.
So pre-writing tweets, giving them images. One of the mistakes I see people make a lot is if an influencer will contribute a thing, and then the image that the brand creates for the influencer is the influencer's own photo and their own quote. And most influencers aren't going to go, here's what I said. Here's a quote from me.
Totally. Yeah.
The humble game is too important. So rather, the best practice would be create a graphic with all the people that contributed to that thing. And then that way the influencer can be humbly say, I'm so proud to be a part of these other esteemed professionals in this really cool asset that is going to benefit you. Please check it out. Yeah. It's going to get more shares. It's going to resonate better. So that kind of thing. So making assets available for influencers to share. If you're using SlideShare, give them an embed code. If you're using video through YouTube, give them an embed code. If they publish a blog, that way they can publish the thing on their site. So thinking about how the influencer publishes and what you as a brand can do to spoon feed them messages that they can be inspired by or literally copy and paste into their social channels.
I love this because it is so true. Because sometimes, when I appear on a podcast and people ask me, hey, what question do you want to talk about? Like, to be honest, I give this maybe 2 minutes to really think about it, because I have other things to talk about, on my list that I have to do. If they make it easier, give me a list of questions and give me, hey, this is what we're going to discuss, I'm a lot more likely to be better prepared. So I love this. So this is such a great tip, because oftentimes we forget people on the other side. We are so preoccupied with what's in our mind, our to-do list. We forget the other person. So I love this tip. Yeah, this is great. Thank you for sharing. I can't wait to examine all of the 50 lists and cross out things that I have done before to make sure I don't do it again. Yeah, and I see that Lori just shared the list. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, this is so timely. Yeah, so it's still so relevant, even though you wrote this a few years ago. So here's a question from Kimberly. It seems like she is just thinking about to start a blog. Oh my God, this is a long question. I try to read this on the spot. So she's thinking about starting her blog, and she's an educational strategist and want to share information with her potential customers. And she wants to learn how she can leverage this type of influencer marketing, what we just discussed, to her new blogging business that she is trying to use that to serve her audience.
Sure. If I were her, well, what I did with our blog is what I would advise to her. It was Kimberly, right?
Yes,
so,
Kimberly. Yeah.
Kimberly, I think, think about who is a thought leader in this space. And you could do something as simple as a series of interviews. Pick a key challenge that is faced by people in your audience that you're after, that you, as a person, that's part of your business, that you can solve for, and construct questions around that sort of thing. Customize some questions, but here's something that's interesting I've done. It's worked really well. Let's say I've got 10 people. I'm going to do a series of interviews. Each person, I got 8 questions. And they're influential. They already have more influence than I do. They have an audience that's paying attention, and all that. They have social networks and all this stuff. I'm going to ask them a couple of questions that are the same for everybody about the broader topic we're trying to address here and create conversations around. And then the rest of the questions I'll probably have as customized to that person. This is really important because no one wants to feel like a cookie cutter interview. And so go ahead and you invite them to answer one question and do what a lot of journalists I know have done with me and with other people. They'll go, I really appreciate your answer to that one question. I'd really like to dig into this topic a little more with you. Would you mind answering a few more questions? Because these are busy people and they probably won't want to answer 8 questions in one shot. So get them to answer one question, then follow up and ask more questions. And then you go ahead and publish that interview. Do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. After you've published all 10 interviews, and that's a lot of content, go ahead and take all the answers to, let's say, question 2, which you would have designed as being something that would be maybe tactical and practical. Share one tip for X. And you'll take all the answers to question 2, and you'll create a brand new blog post that says 10 famous people about this very specific topic. And then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again with the other, 2 or 3 other questions. And that's a way now, not only have you given those people exposure on your blog, you've got really good content for your community. They're going to share it to their communities, giving you subscribers, hopefully. But you've continued to create exposure for them long after the interviewer series is done by publishing these other roundup posts. You're curating your own content. Now, there's social messages that you're going out with every single one of these interview posts. And hopefully by the end of this exercise, you've created a little bit of a community, and you can use that as a springboard to start to do other interesting things.
You are a genius. That's such a brilliant idea. Seriously, I cannot wait to rewatch this video myself.
You can do it. Everybody can do it.
so many great tips. I think because for me, oftentimes we are so concerned about, producing fresh content, new content. I just love how you mentioned, we can actually repurpose some of the content we have already created. So I love that. I hope that answer is helpful for you, Kimberly. And we're almost running out of time. I really want to go over this a little bit. Let me share my screen real quick. So this one, and the second point talk about is influencer content. I really love how you mentioned, and if you want your content to be great, ask influencers to participate. And I feel like that needs to be on a t-shirt. It is so powerful. And I wonder if you can elaborate, unpack that for us a little bit. Yeah.
So a lot of what brands are looking for when they work with influencers is the hope that they'll share the content. But, especially in B2B, where you actually have to be an expert to be an influencer. You can't just be good at making videos or tweets or social messages, as is often the case in B2C. In B2B, you need to be an expert. So if you want the content to be better, go ahead and invite that scientist, that engineer, that educator, that or academic, to share their perspective on a thing. And when they do that, that's going to lift the quality of your content and help make it great. Part of that greatness, of course, does come through visibility, because, the best content in the world isn't very good if no one sees it. So the distribution element is a factor as well. So adding credibility to brand content, third-party voices, adds a lot of social proof and credibility to brand content, but at the same time, be really thoughtful about inspiring, sharing, and distribution by those influencers, and therefore your content will be great.
Oh yeah, I love it. Just reminds me of when Mark Schaefer came to my show. He said that the economic value of content that is not shared is zero. So just like what you're talking about, right? Regardless of how amazing this piece of content is, but if nobody is actually reading this or watching or listening, it means like generates a very little ROI. Yeah. I love
exactly.
it.
And that's what companies need to allocate an equal amount to creation as they do to distribution.
Yeah, great. And it really shows, the more I'm listening to you, Lee, we oftentimes we think that we have those amazing tools, which is good, but it is also a science and an art, right? Lots of human labor, building really genuine, authentic relationships and showing up consistently. It is a science and art if we really want to make influencer marketing work, especially in the long run. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. This is true.
Yeah. So tell us, right now you are doing some surveys. So tell us more about this survey that you are doing, and everyone listen up. You may have a chance to win $500 US Amazon gift card. So let's share the link. So you can start talking.
So we did work with a platform called Tracker a couple of years ago to create a general influencer marketing survey that did have a B2B element to it. But this year we are undertaking the very first influencer marketing study that is dedicated only to B2B. So if you work in B2B and you have, experimented with influencers, you've thought about working with influencers, you've already done pilot programs, or you are already mature in your work with influencers. If you are an influencer yourself and you have visibility to how brands run their programs, you are a candidate to take this survey. And the survey is going to capture insights around everything from strategy to tactics to a little bit about budgeting, a little bit about future trends, and lots of other really important details that'll help, I think, lift the entire industry in the craft and as you say, in the art and the science of influencer marketing.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, I just here's the link, and I also just entered the link in the comment section. So make sure that you guys check this out, and will only take you a few minutes. So where can people learn more about you? And before you share that, one parting piece of advice in terms of influencer marketing and building trust with influencers that you want to share with us.
I think it's a golden rule. treat people the way you'd like to be treated. And if you have invested a substantial number of hours to grow your own intelligence, expertise, and talent and craft, think about how would you want to be perceived in the world? You've got a lot of value to offer. You can really create impact. Well, when you find the right influencer, they feel that way. So think about that and treat them the way you would want to be treated if you are bringing all that value to the table. And if you do that, you're going to unlock a tremendous resource for your brand.
Mm-hmm. I love that. It is so simple, but sometimes can be so hard to be implemented, right? As sometimes we just get so occupied with our short-term goal, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So where can people learn more about you? I already shared your Twitter, so let me share again. So make sure you guys are here on the board. So follow Lee on Twitter or any other places they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, certainly you could learn more about our company at toprankmarketing.com. And our blog is at toprankblog.com, where we have published, we've published thousands of articles since late 2003. I've written 1.4 million words myself. And I only know that because I was complaining about having to write 60,000 words for this book. And then wait a minute, I've been blogging for a long time. How many words did I write there? Anyway, you can also, Twitter's a good place. I'm very active on Twitter, active on LinkedIn, of course. And my favorite social channel personally is Instagram.
Oh, I didn't know that. Why?
I don't know. I just like taking crappy photos and making them look great using Instagram filters.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now I'm going to follow you closely on Instagram. So that's the only place I didn't mention. I mentioned Twitter. I thought you were most active on Twitter. But hey, everyone, connect with Lee also on Instagram. So the same handle on Instagram?
Same handle on Instagram. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, this is great. And Lance, everyone just loved your comments and thank you for joining us live.
Thank you, everybody.
And thank you so much. And for such a great conversation. So honored. You just made my day, my month, my year. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate it. And you're a wonderful host. You're doing a great thing.
Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone, joining us live. Next Wednesday, the same time, same location. I hope to see you guys again. Bye. Take care and stay safe.